Hello students, welcome to the lecture on telecommunications, and after the lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Explain the telecommunications services and components, define WAN link options, understand wide area network, discuss WAN access and the OSI reference model, explain messages and protocols of WAN. Let's start with a brief introduction to telecommunications. Telecommunications is a general term for a vast array of technologies that send information over distances. Mobile phones, landlines, satellite phones, and Voice over Internet Protocol, VoIP, are all telephony technologies, just one field of telecommunications. Other forms of early telecommunications include relay fires or beacons.
Not networks, not computers, but we're going to start a little bit with history. We're going to start explaining a little bit about the telecommunications, and then we're going to talk a little bit about its background, some of the phrases that are used, some of the ideas that are still in place today. In fact, some of these ideas are used by our data friends when they put up local area networks and when they interact with the internet. You know, a lot has happened since Alexander Graham Bell created the telephone many years ago. When he called for Watson, he poured acid on his hand by accident and he said, "Watson, I need you, come here." A lot has happened since then, but a lot has remained the same since then. And if you remember, or if you've seen any pictures of old telephones and things like that, we're going to start looking at some of those old concepts that are still used today. The telecom industry has really changed a lot, yet at the same time it's stayed the same in a lot of areas. But for years, the telecom industry in America was pretty much owned by AT&T. It had the right, according to the U.S. government, to be the supplier of voice communications in America for a very long time. And it was actually, if I believe right, it was actually started by Alexander Graham Bell. Many years ago. I think that was his company, AT&T, and it blew up to where one end of the country to the other was completely controlled by AT&T. And it controlled the rates, it controlled local access, it controlled telephone numbers, it controlled everything. And you could not do anything without their permission when it came to telecom. In fact, there was an interesting situation that happened in 1959, and that is Thomas Carter invented a thing called the Carter phone. And the Carter phone was an acoustic coupler that connected the telephone system with radios. One of the issues with Thomas Carter was that he had many oil wells out in Texas, and he'd go out to an oil well and he'd find out that it didn't completely fill up the reserve tank. So he created this little cartophone to help communicate with his people out in the field, also to communicate, telling him when this oil storage facility was filled and needed to be emptied. Well, what happened was AT&T didn't like that because it was connected to what they said was their network. I personally think they were wrong because it's not their network, it was owned by the taxpayers and citizens of the United States. But to make a long story short, it went to court. 8 years later, the FCC decided that it was okay that Carter could attach his cartophone to the telephone system because there was no way it could prove that that attachment to the telephone system hindered or in any way damaged that phone system from AT&T. That started a revolution. What you had after that is you had answering machines.
Now, we will discuss about telecommunications services and components. Telecommunications refers to the communication of information by electronic means, usually over some distance. Telecommunications system is a collection of compatible hardware and software arranged to communicate information from one location to another. Telecommunications services. Telecommunications services are a global market worth over US 1.5 trillion in revenue. Mobile services account for roughly 40% of this, while mobile subscribers worldwide currently outnumber the use of fixed telephone lines by more than 2 to 1. Fixed voice services. This reflects retail voice service revenue for all services that are sold as such to end users and includes the provision of local and long-distance services related to voice, enhanced voice services, data and fax transmission over the circuit switched PSTN, mobile telecom services. Income from mobile telephone calls and mobile data usage, short message service, SMS, and mobile data access from all mobile operators in that regional market. Components of telecommunications system. There are many telecommunications components. Computers, to process information. Terminals or any input-output devices that send or receive data. Communication channels, the links by which data or voice are transmitted between sending and receiving devices in a network. Communication processors, such as modems which provide communications support for data transmission and reception. Communication software to manage network. Functions of a telecommunications system. There are many telecommunications functions. Transmits information. Establishes the interface between sender and receiver. Routes the messages along the most efficient paths. Ensures that the right message reaches the right user. Performs editorial tasks such as checking for transmission errors. Converts the messages from one speed to another. Converts the messages from one format to another. Business value of telecommunication networks. Reduced transaction costs. A transaction is an exchange of goods or services by the producer for money from the customer. Each transaction, if it has to take place, is associated with a cost. Reduced agency costs. Agency costs are the costs that are incurred from a firm in order to set up and execute a managerial process that enables the exchange of products or services in the marketplace. Here, we will get to know about WAN, W-A-N, link options. The main types of WAN connections are leased line. A leased line or point-to-point dedicated connection provides a pre-established connection through the service provider's network, WAN, to a remote network. Circuit switched. It provides a dedicated circuit path between sender and receiver for the duration of the call. Circuit switching is used for basic telephone service or integrated services digital network, ISDN. Packet switched. With packet switching, devices transport packets using virtual circuits, VCs, that provide end-to-end connectivity. Programmed switching devices provide physical connections. WAN data link protocols. Various protocols and technologies are used in a wide area network, WAN, W-A-N, environments. It includes point-to-point links. A point-to-point link provides a single pre-established WAN communications path from the customer premises through a carrier network, such as a telephone company, to a remote network. Circuit switching. Circuit switching is a WAN switching method in which a dedicated physical circuit is established, maintained, and terminated through a carrier network for each communication session. Circuit switching accommodates datagram transmissions and data stream transmissions. Packet switching. Packet switching is a WAN switching method in which network devices share a single point-to-point link to transport packets from a source to a destination across a carrier network, Statistical multiplexing is used to enable devices to share these circuits. WAN virtual circuits. A virtual circuit is a logical circuit created to ensure reliable communication between two network devices. The types of virtual circuits are switched virtual circuits, SVCs. The SVCs are virtual circuits that are dynamically established on demand and terminated when transmission is complete. SVCs are used in situations in which data transmission between devices is sporadic, largely because SVCs increase bandwidth used due to the circuit establishment. Permanent virtual circuits, PVCs. The PVC is a permanently established virtual circuit that consists of one mode, data transfer. PVCs are used in situations in which data transfer between devices is constant. WAN devices. Some WAN devices are WAN switch. A WAN switch is a multi-port internet working device used in carrier networks. These devices typically switch such traffic as frame relay, X.25, and SMDS and operate at the data link layer of the OSI reference model. Access server. An access server acts as a concentration point for dial-in and dial-out connections. Modem. A modem is a device that interprets digital and analog signals, enabling data to be transmitted over voice-grade telephone lines. CSU DSU. A CSU DSU channel service unit digital service unit is a digital interface device that adapts the physical interface on a DTE, data terminal equipment device, to the interface of a DCE, data circuit terminating device, in a switched carrier network. ISDN terminal adapter. An ISDN terminal adapter is a device used to connect ISDN basic rate interface BRI connections to other interfaces such as EIA/TIA-232. A terminal adapter is essentially an ISDN modem. Let's now talk about the Wide Area Network, WAN or WAN. The Wide Area Network, often referred to as a WAN, is a communications network that makes use of existing technology to connect local computer networks into a larger working network that may cover both national and international locations. The Wide Area Network has made it possible for companies to communicate internally in ways never before possible. Features of WAN. The main features of WAN are: WANs often connect multiple smaller networks, such as local area networks, LANs, or metro area networks, MANs. The medium used for WANs are telephone lines, microwave links, and satellite links. Transmission rates usually range from 1,200 bps to 6 Mbps, although some connections such as an ATM and leased line can reach speeds greater than 156 Mbps. The cost to transmit data in WAN may be high because the transmission media are eased or paid lines or links. A WAN may not be owned by a single organization, but it is operated under collective ownership and management. WANs tend to use technology like ATM, frame relay, and X.25 for connectivity over the longer distances. Components of WAN. Access routers. The access router connects to a switch or hub on the local network and serves as a gateway to the WAN. The access routers establish LAN-to-LAN connections and forward network traffic between users at the remote sites. WAN connections. These are the actual connectivity between sites. Common WAN links are public networks like the Internet, private networks such as lines leased from service providers, and the public phone system. The speed of a WAN connection depends on its capacity and characteristics. Security strategies. These prevent any unauthorized people from accessing communications between sites, particularly when they travel over public networks like the Internet, WANs, and their needs. A wide area network, WAN, is a network that spans a large geographical area, the most common example being the Internet. This is in contrast to smaller local area networks. Routers are used to direct communications between LANs communicating on a WAN. The router installed on the leased line reads the envelopes or headers on each packet of data that passes through the WAN, sending it to the proper LAN. When the packet arrives at the LAN, a device called a switch sends the data packet on to the correct machine. Hence, the WAN acts like an interface between LANs for long-distance communication. One that runs on a leased line is private, as there is no public traffic on the line. The least expensive type of WAN uses the Internet over a dial-up modem. This is not as popular since the price of DSL has decreased enough to become competitive with dial-up accounts. A dial-up modem only operates at 56 kilobits per second, kbps, while a standard DSL connection is about 20 times faster. A dial-up connection also cannot share telephone service. WANs versus LANs. A LAN, local area network, is a network that links computers, printers, and other devices located in an office, a building, or even a campus. A WAN, wide area network, is a system that extends for greater distances and is used to connect LANs together. A LAN is generally referred to as a network contained within a building, an office, or a campus. A WAN is a network that connects campuses. To set up a LAN, relatively speaking, is cheap. WANs are expensive. WAN is generally slower than LAN. The data transmission speed in LAN may be up to 10 Mbps, whereas in WAN it is generally about 1/10 of that in LAN. Now, we will discuss about WAN access and the OSI reference model. In relation to the OSI reference model, WAN operations focus primarily on Layer 1 and Layer 2. WAN access standards typically describe both physical layer delivery methods and data link layer requirements, including physical addressing, flow control, and encapsulation. The physical layer, OSI Layer 1 protocols describe how to provide electrical, mechanical, operational, and functional connections to the services of a communications service provider. Serial point-to-point connections. Point-to-point protocol is an industry standard protocol. Because many versions of HDLC are proprietary, PPP can be used to create point-to-point links between different vendors' equipment. It uses a network control protocol field in the data link header to identify the network layer protocol. WAN multiple LANs. A WAN, or wide area network, is geographically dispersed collection of LANs. As the term implies, a WAN spans a large physical distance. Thus, a WAN may be defined as a data communication network that spans large geographic areas, such as state, province, or country. Most networks consist of some major zones: the local area network, LAN, and the wide area network, WAN. A LAN is the internal network, whether it is a house with 2 computers or a high-rise office building with thousands. Does not matter. Here, we will discuss about messages and protocols. Protocol Description Frame Relay is a WAN protocol for LAN internetworking, which operates at the physical and data link layer to provide a fast and efficient method of transmitting information from a user device to another across multiple switches and routers. Frame relay is based on packet-switched technologies similar to X.25, which enables end stations to dynamically share the network medium and the available bandwidth. The basic components are Internet Protocol, IP. It is responsible for several tasks, most importantly, determining a route to the description. In addition, IP is responsible for the packaging of messages into small network transportable packets called datagrams. Internet Control Message Protocol, ICMP. It is a special form of IP used to handle error and status messages between IP layers on different machines. Whenever one IP layer has to send information to another, it uses ICMP. Transmission Control Protocol, TCP. It is used primarily to verify that whatever was sent by the sending machine is received intact by the destination. TCP is called a reliable delivery protocol, meaning that it makes sure everything sent was received properly. User Datagram Protocol, UDP. It is an alternative to TCP. It is a connectionless protocol, meaning that the sending and receiving machines are not constantly connected to each other. They can send status messages back and forth to indicate reception of packets, but there is no constant connection maintained. Telnet. The Telnet service provides a remote login capability. This lets a user on one machine log into another machine and act as if they are directly in front of the second machine. The connection can be anywhere on the local network or on another network anywhere in the world, as long as the user has permission to log on into the remote system. File Transfer Protocol, FTP. It enables a file on one system to be copied to another system. Users don't actually log in as full users to the machine they want to access, but instead use the FTP service to provide access. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, SMTP. It is one protocol used for transferring electronic mail. Transparent to the user, SMTP connects to different machines and transfers mail messages much like FTP transfers files. Domain Name System, DNS. It enables a device with a common name to be converted to a special network address. DNS provides the conversion from a common local name to the unique physical address of the device's network connection. Network structure. The network structure is a newer type of organizational structure, often seen as less hierarchical, more decentralized, and more flexible, in which managers coordinate and control relations, both internal and external to the firm. As with all organizational structures, the network structure has its advantages and its disadvantages. The concept underlying the network structure is the social network, which is a social structure of interactions. At the organizational level, social networks can include intra-organizational or inter-organizational ties in terms of formal or informal relationships. At the industry level, complex networks can include technological and innovation networks that may span several geographic areas and organizations. The TCP/IP data network. The TCP/IP model separates networking functions into discrete layers. Each layer performs a specific function and is transparent to the layer above it and the layer below it. Network models are used to conceptualize how networks should work so that hardware and network protocols can interoperate. The TCP/IP model is one of the two most common network models, the other being the OSI model. The TCP/IP network model breaks down in layers. Internet layer. The Internet layer provides connectionless communication across one or more networks, a global logical addressing scheme, and packetization of data. The Internet layer is concerned with network-to-network communication. The Internet layer is responsible for packetization, addressing, and routing of data on the network. Network access layer. The network access layer provides access to the physical network. This is the network interface card. Ethernet, FDDI, token ring, ATM, OC, HSSI, or even Wi-Fi are all examples of network interfaces. The purpose of a network interface is to allow the computer to access the wireless or fiber optic network infrastructure and send data to other computers. Now, in the end, let us summarize what we have learned in this lecture. Telecommunications is a general term for a vast array of technologies that send information over distances. Telecommunications refers to the communication of information by electronic means, usually over some distance. Circuit switching is a WAN switching method in which a dedicated physical circuit is established, maintained, and terminated through a carrier network for each communication session. The Wide Area Network, often referred to as WAN, is a communications network that makes use of existing technology to connect local computer networks into a larger working network that may cover both national and international locations. Internet Control Message Protocol, ICMP, is a special form of IP used to handle error and status messages between IP layers on different machines.